All right, ladies and gentlemen, our first item up for bid, lot 001 from Disney, Lorcana.
Oh, what? Lorcana? Lorcana? What? Oh, let's go! Let's go! Yeah! Yeah!
Right, okay. Anyway, we'll start the bidding at $25. Do we hear 25?
25, let's go!
Energetic gentleman down in front, welcome
25,
in.
let's go.
25, do I hear 50? $50. Do I hear 50? 50 from the... Okay, sure, 50 from the gentleman on his left. Right. 50 from the gentleman on his left. Do I hear 75? 75 back at our first bidder. We're just letting this roll. 75. Do I hear 100? 100. I hear 100. Do I hear 150? 150 over here. 150. Do I hear 200? 200 back at you. Do I hear 250? 250.
$500. Let's go. Let's go.
$500 for the Disney Lorcana promo from Mr. Enthusiasm here. Do I hear 550? 550 going once, you're out. 550 going once, going twice. And sold
baby.
to the gentleman who's been changing shirts and raising the price on himself for some reason.
What? Dude, what? Can he not see us? I told you gotta wear the hat.
It's like a Superman thing.
You'd think the suit... Alright. Let's go. Let's go. Give me that Lorcana. Gotta wear the hat.
Wait, there's two of you now. Not sure why you thought otherwise, man. I watched you change shirts.
We've been here the whole time, man. Alright, I got a thing I gotta go do.
Go.
Alright. What up? What up? It's Deckmaster J. You won't believe it. $500 Lorcana card, baby. And I'm offering it to you. Let's go.
What the hell just happened?
Honestly, I wouldn't think that hard about it. We're like 5 seconds away from the title sequence.
What are you talking about? What title sequence? Quick editing Joe disclaimer before we begin. This video is going to be pretty spicy. And I'm going to do my best to not point out any individuals outside of, I know there's one specific series of auctions that I really want to point to and kind of show something off, but this isn't to try to call out any specific games or any specific creators or anybody really out there. I'm not suggesting in what I'm showing off that like this is an exact person who's doing this, but I am doing this because I want to show signs, and for some weird reason, if you look at this and be like, wow, this sounds a heck of a lot like me, and you're doing it intentionally, well, you're kind of the problem. And if you do it on accident, well, now you know. So yeah, this isn't trying to target anything specific. This is something that runs rampant across, sadly, the entire industry. So yeah, that was kind of the point of this. Also, you'll notice that of my 5, I don't actually mention the pump and dump, because really that's something that every single one of these does in some way, shape, or form. Pump and dump is usually an umbrella term that's kind of done to just say, oh, the game's a scam, it's a pump and dump scam. It's like, okay, let's talk about the specifics on how exactly those things work. So I wanted to get a little bit deeper in this video, and that's why I didn't call that one out. So there we go. Have fun. This one's a journey. Lorcana, make way. Lorcana, it's time you knew how people are gonna try to screw you over. I've been wanting to make this video since practically the beginning of this channel back in 2021. Now, I wasn't expecting to do this in the context of Disney, but, you know, here we are, and I feel it's actually more relevant now than it even was in the last 3 years, which has led to something that I call the temper tantrum era of TCGs. So if you're new here, a couple of things. One, hi, I'm Joey, Decks and Drafts. If you end up liking this video, I'd love if you both liked and hit that subscribe button. I don't get to make too much content because I have a new daughter, but when I do, I try to make it meaningful. So it would be super meaningful to me if you hit subscribe and check back in from time to time. I will try to do the same. Anyway, that's one. Number 2, the temper tantrum era, an era in the last 3 years where card games came out that didn't really need to prove themselves on the shelf or in the industry or in the market to be treated like they were overwhelming, mind-boggling industry successes, and it's been a nightmare. ever since. You thought that 50 cents a card from a booster pack was expensive, my Lorcana friends. Oh, you just wait. You would see sample cards and not proxies, but like promos and random stuff going for hundreds, thousands even. Not even D23 is like the top of the garbage pile, and that was a big mistake that Ravensburger acknowledged. But that's not what I want to talk about in this video, because as Lorcana now hits the mainstream, product gets in hands, people start figuring out, like, they get their hands on product and they know what they want to do moving forward. It leads into the problems of the secondary market, which chances are not a lot of you really have experience with, because there's so many new people in this game who have not been in TCGs. This is exactly what I wanted. I am thrilled for this. I'm also sad that there are audiences out there that are looking at this and saying, fresh meat. And I'm not a fan of that. So with that came a lot of learning about how to manipulate markets and how to screw with prices online and screw with the idea of scarcity and value. And I can't exactly stop those things, but what I can do is try to educate the audience a little bit better. So stick around. I'm not going to do a proper timer on this one, but I'm going to try to do 3 minutes per, because I want to introduce you to 5 different market manipulation tactics that are seen quite often in the secondary market for TCGs. I'll give you a little bit of insight into how they work, what they look like, and when it makes sense and when I can, how to protect yourself and what to look out for. Here we go. How awful am I? It's decks and drafts, and this is going to be a lot of you guys' first time. So we're going to talk about decks, but we got to talk about the drafts. The heck's wrong with me? So yeah, so today's beer for the day that we're doing, I've got Dry Dock's Hazy IPA, because it's going to get a little bit hazy. We're talking about kind of a hazy space. So yeah, Hazy IPA. This is also a sign that I'm a little bit out of beer, because, you know, that's what happens when you have a daughter. You know, you don't really put a lot of beer in the house. You just don't really drink that much. So anyway, yeah, so we're doing that. Not the best of 4. No, it's not bad. It's not bad. It's not a bad pour. There we go. All right. All right. Cheers, you guys. Now here we go. What up, what up? It's Deckmaster J. Welcome to the show. So glad to have you here. So, what do we got going on? I'm a lover of all things TCG, and if you've been paying attention, you know I got my finger on the pulse of this industry. And for that today, I've got something awesome for you. I'm excited to show you this whole brand new game that I've been checking out, that I've been looking at, and I think you guys are gonna love it here. It's called Metabrew TCG. I swear, man, I've been checking out this game. I've been playing it with my friends. I've been playing with my buddies. I've been looking at the community, talking to fans, talking to players for this thing. I think this thing is legit. I love this game so much, and I'm so excited to see where it's gonna go, where people are gonna take it. I think it's got an awesome future ahead of it, so you should absolutely check it out. Metabrew TCG. Keep an eye out, man. Keep an eye for this channel. Keep an eye all these things. I think it's gonna be great. I think you guys gotta take a look at it. So there we go. That's what I got for you today. That's what I got. Deckmaster J out. Where's my money? I'm getting boxes. You get boxes? Alright, that works. If you haven't figured it out, Deckmaster J is kind of my alter ego, the goofus to my Gallant. Not that I'm really comparing myself to Gallant, but anyway, whatever. Bring him out from time to time. So AstroTurfing, figured I'd start off with a banger, one that's already going to get spicy and probably piss a couple of people off, but here's the way that it works. Here's the idea behind AstroTurfing. You're at a stadium, you're at a football stadium. That's the sport that they play outside. It's for you gamers out there. But anyway, you're at a football stadium, and you look down on the lawn, and the lawn is immaculate. It's perfect. It's beautiful. It's you know, lush and green, all those things. And you look and say, like, wow, they do phenomenal things with their lawn. Those are incredible groundskeepers. But at the end of the day, it's actually AstroTurf. It is a thing that is manufactured to look that way. And it's, you're not really, like, told. There's nothing, like, on the field that says, this grass is fake, everybody. AstroTurf. The term astroturfing in marketing and in market manipulation and all of that is when somebody presents the illusion of genuine opinion and genuine excitement or response to kind of create that kind of perception of demand, the perception of excitement, and could very well also mean like the perception of scarcity. So I'm really excited to get into this game. This game's incredibly fun. I played it with all of my friends. Yeah, okay, these could very well be actual statements. However, it's not uncommon for big creators, big influencers, to find themselves just being paid to say something along those lines. And it's not always in money, mind you. Sometimes the astroturfing can be done in forms of, like, I fly out to a collecticon, I fly out to XYZ convention, and then I start doing a heck of a lot of content on that game while I'm there. It could very well have been a relationship of, we will fly you out and we will pay for all of that, and we're going to ask for some press our way. Now the thing that's really important to understand is that astroturfing is specifically designed to look genuine when it's not. There are some creators that I've seen that will say, hey, I reached out, or this game reached out to me and they wanted me to do a bit of a review. That is not the case here. That has been disclosed that was something that was asked for. It's those relationships that you can't exactly tell whether or not somebody's being real or not. So, how do you spot it? What are some of the things that you can look for? Keep in mind, these are not 100% going to work every time, but there are some trends when somebody is not really being genuine, but they're really trying to make it look like it. Things like very, very vague statements, not a lot of detailed anecdotes. However, hilariously, a large reliance on stories. I played a lot with my friends. I'd spent a lot of time in the community, but they can't exactly get into details. They can't get into details about like the cards. They can't get into details about like any of the actual rules or anything they actually did. It's a lot of those really kind of cookie cutter, would fit anywhere. I had fun. What a great game. What beautiful art. What great quality. Please look at them and have our fun. That's usually like if you see something kind of show up just randomly out of nowhere and there's no follow-up. There's no follow-up videos that talk about it at all, especially also if you're like engaged in their community and it doesn't really become a big topic of conversation and it's just this kind of once or twice super vague, let's open cards and look at them and say they're Mad Lib, exciting word. Chances are you're dealing with an astroturfing situation. You're dealing with somebody who is actually paid in some way, compensated in some way, shape, or form to have that product, and they're tasked with providing a genuine opinion when perhaps it's not very genuine. So it kind of sucks. It's thankfully not terribly disruptive, but it can be really depending on the size of the influencer, because if somebody says, wow, this thing is going to be like next big thing and I definitely trust their opinion, they got like 100, 200, 300,000 subscribers, suddenly there's a lot more eyes on that game. Suddenly there's a lot more people saying, I trust this person's opinion and they're telling me that this is fun and good and something to look out for, when in fact there might not really be any meat behind those that they would genuinely look at and react to if they weren't getting paid for it. Yo, buddy, what's up? Hey, can you do me a favor? Yeah, no, I got this Metabrew card thing. I got it for doing that video. Yeah, they gave me that in like a ton of boxes. I'm like, all right, whatever. That's fine though. It's going to the moon. But here's the thing. I put this thing out on eBay. I put this card out on eBay. And I got like one bid on it. And guys, like, it's like, this thing's like a $500 card. Like, it's a 101, man. It's a 101. What? Right? So can you like bid can you put like $500 or just bid for like $500 on it, and then like just retract your bid after? Because I got like one guy who's bid on this thing, and I really don't want to sell this for $100. But like if he wants to pay more, like I want to see how much he's wanting to pay for it. Like I want to see who's gonna pay. I want to see who's gonna pay. So yeah, just put like $500 bid, and then like if you end up winning the thing, then cool. Just retract your bid. And we'll call it there, all right? That'd be awesome. Yeah, that's right. All right, cool. All right, thank you, man. Thank you, my friend. eBay has been a fun tool. For a lot of people. It's helped people determine kind of what a market price is at for something. It's also been great to kind of resell things. And yeah, they take stuff off the top and all those. But like whatever. It is opened a door that most people normally wouldn't have access to outside of now kind of communities and whatnot. However, one of the most prevalent, one of the most wild and most frustrating scams on auction sites specifically is that of the shill bid. A shill bid, as you kind of heard from my little skit, is basically trying to artificially increase and ramp up the bidding of an item to do multiple things. In this case, that one's specifically done to try to capture one individual's initial bid. In some cases, sometimes shill bids are really put out just to affect the search history, affect the algorithm, affect kind of what shows up, to show that perhaps there is in fact interest on this thing, you know, on something that was put out there. There are a lot of different reasons to do shill bids. Editing Joe wanted to add a little extra flavor specifically for Kickstarter because this tactic is something that also is used to manipulate the Kickstarter algorithm. Sometimes you'll see a project that has like a $1 or like $100 or an insanely low, like no way is this kickstarting your project kind of goal that's set for it. And the point of it, especially when you know you have like a big community behind it that is getting ready to just jump in and immediately overfund this thing like crazy, is that Kickstarter will recognize that overfunding and that over percentage, and that's how you get like those featured badges and like, you know, favorite project or whatever Kickstarter has for it. But yeah, when you see something that is like absurdly low and there's just no way for it to, there's no way that that's actually really that value is, or that dollar amount is really going to help this project. That's an attempt to manipulate the algorithm. To say it's like a scam or anything like that, no, that's a little bit shaky. Some of these are a little shaky, but it is a way to manipulate to create a lot more interest and a lot more intrigue in something that may have just been gaming the system. As I also mentioned kind of in that skit, you'll recognize that like I needed somebody else to do it. Naturally, I can't bid on my own auctions, but what I can do is I got my buddies who will, I've got other people or I've got my own like other accounts who will shill bid. This is a frustrating way to get you to pay more than you probably would end up doing, but also, and when we talk about spoofing a little bit later, it's a good way to negatively or kind of falsify the actual value of something by forcing a value to hit a certain number, to hit whatever that number is. If this guy only spent $100 and literally nobody else buys it for 100, or no bid other than the shill bid beats it, that really should be what the value of the card is. It should be at 100. But now I've got a sale that shows like $300 if that was his max. That in fact was not really market value. Yeah, he was willing to pay that. But everybody else outside of the scam behind it was not really willing to go higher than 100. 100 should be the price of the card. That's a market manipulation tactic. That is why I like to go against those assholes that say, well, free market, if somebody wants to pay a value of something, then that's its value. No, because of things like this, where you can scam that value and you can fake what that value actually is. So that's shill bidding. Frustrating little thing. Now, really hard to kind of just see. It's hard to just kind of... you're shill bidding, but there are some things that you can look at. The first thing that I would look at if you're doing any sort of bidding and you're winning an auction at X amount, and then you have like a much higher bid, and then you just suddenly are winning it at your max bid, I might go and check that auction. I go take a look at that auction, because the nice thing is that eBay has added bid history. So let me show you how you can actually look at the bid history and some things to look out for when you go there. So here we go. I'm going to flip the camera for just a sec. Trying this under 2 minutes. This hey is going to come up a little bit later, because I actually think this is a combination of shill bidding and spoofing. But we'll get to that. So when you have, like, if there's a flag, if you're like, hey, suddenly I'm winning this thing for $150 more than I was willing to pay, or what my bid was originally, you can go into the eBay auction. You can actually take a look at the bid history. So here's what I'm looking for in the bid history. I'm going to pop in. One thing, when I'm looking for something that looks like a shill in the context, not of trying to screw somebody, but try to make it look like there's a lot of traction, I'm looking for 1, 2, or 3 bidders just in rapid succession bidding over top of each other. In like a really short period of time, and they're doing it repeatedly. You can also see this over multiple, like you can actually look at what the seller is selling, look at a couple of those auctions, which in this case we'll be able to do with spoofing with Yzma and Mickey Mouse, to see that it really is kind of the same people who are just bidding on the same thing over and over and over again in little spurts to make it look like there's a lot of bidding and there's a lot of history going on. Because let's face it, from this screen, it looks like, wow, a whole heck of a lot of people seem to be interested in it, or at least there's a lot of back and forth, when in fact there really isn't. It's really just like one or two people trying to do some nonsense. In this case, it's kind of three. Anyway, so that's something to look out for. Like, that's one thing. It's like, is it just these same two just over and over and over and over? Second thing I'm looking for is whether or not the person who's outbidding me or doing a lot of these bids has a low feedback count. Yeah, it's possible sometimes people have low feedback counts, but I'd see what else this person is bidding on actively if you can. It's like, see other sellers. Chances are a burner account, like, you want all your good feedback to go towards the seller. You want the seller to look really good, but I can't bid on my own things, so I need kind of a burner account to be able to do those bids, and I'm not putting a lot of effort into that. So usually in those high ticket type of stuff, like $450, you'll see accounts with just really low bids or really low feedback. The other nice thing is that you can actually look in, like, if you feel that you're being scammed, I can right click. I'm going to just right click because it's easier. I'm going to open a new tab, and I can actually see what the bidder is bidding on in this case. So he bid 5 times in this item. You'll notice this bidder is different. Like, this is different from what we actually clicked on. These are randomly generated by eBay. There's registration keys. You're not getting private information on this individual. Too bad. But you can look over here and you can actually see what bid retractions are, bid retractions in 12 months, and bid activity percentage with this seller of the things that he is bidding on. How many of them are with the seller that you're suddenly worried about is trying to scam you? This is a big number. For 21, you're telling me that basically it's basically like 4 to 5 auctions are with the exact same seller. And you only have 21 pieces of things of feedback. Like, there are a couple of flags here. These are things you can send over to eBay. eBay support, they can help you take a look at this. So those are a couple things to look at as far as, am I worried about being shill bid? Check the bid retractions, or see if you just got kind of the same, like, 1 or 2 people just constantly bidding over each other in either fairly quick succession or really just is over and over and over and over and over and over again. And then you match it up with, like, other information of maybe go look at other sellers, go look at other sales by the same seller and see if you see things that match. So in this case, real quick, I got this. I can't see what their actual names are, but I can see their feedback, 516, 21, 516, 21. Another example, I'm going to go into that same seller's ESMA. I'm going to click on the 19 bids here and look at the bid history. These are different. But 516, 21, 516, 21, like, this over and over gives me a lot of pause. I know there's like a 471 here who's different, but like, that was $136. We jumped to 451 between a couple of bids between what very much looks like the same 2 people. And I bet if I look at those bid histories, they're going to look the exact same. Like, they're going to look like the exact same person. So those are some things to look for to see whether or not you have a bit of just an eBay scamming situation on your hands. But yeah, check those bid histories, check retractions, history of retractions, and that percentage of, activity with a particular seller. If it's a low feedback guy, yeah, you might have a problem, but send it over to eBay support, and that's what to look out for with shill bidding. I know. We've got hundreds of boxes of this crap. I know. I'm trying to get them out of here. I'm trying to move them, but I'm working on something right now. I'm doing something right now that when I post it, I'm gonna be able to get those boxes out. Okay? I know. They've been there for a bit, so, like, just let me do this, and then we'll be fine, and they'll be fine. We'll be good. All right. What up? It's Deckmaster J. Welcome to the show. So glad to have you here. So what do we got going on? You won't believe the market movements on MetaBrew TCG. This thing is going like fire, and I'm telling you what, they got a new drop that's coming out. I've been talking to my buddies, I've been talking to my friends, and I'm telling you, I'm gonna buy the living crap out of this thing. I've got thousands I'm gonna put into it. I'm gonna buy like 25% of the print run. I've got all my friends over here. I've been talking to my buddies, my whales, my investor group, right? And they're getting ready to just throw down on this thing. So I strongly suggest you get your hands on this as quickly as humanly possible. You gotta buy into MetaBrew, man. This is the time to do it. I'm telling you, this thing is gonna go like hotcakes. There are people lining up for this. I'm gonna buy a shit ton of it. I'm buying like at least 25% of it. My buddies are gonna buy a bunch more of it. Oh, you gotta get in on this. MetaBrew TCG, let's go. That's right. Deckmaster J out. back in the old days, to wrap your mind around the stock market, they had actual ticker tape. Tick, 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 tick. Ticker tape. It's fun to say. Ticker tape.
Let's get out the old stock ticker and have a look. Here's where I stopped checking it last time. September 1929. Oh no.
Anyway. But that's where the term painting the tape comes from. Now, if you're stock market junkies, you're already saying it's like, no, it's a little different than that, and it sort of is, because in TCG land, I don't have like a big pile of things I can just buy and sell instantly. And then you get into like the timing of it, and it becomes a little bit of a mess. But the sentiment is the same way. Basically, I am trying to convince the audience that scarcity is about to happen, or I'm trying to convince the audience that something is so gosh darn worth a sale that in buying the crap out of it, it drives prices up. And ultimately, what I'm trying to do as the scammer is sell what I already have, or sell things that I have. Editing Joe, just to make it real clear, because as I go through, that's the point of Editing Joe, is it's not entirely clear. When I say, so, when you hear something along the lines of like, I'm going to buy the Living Daylights, or I'm going to put this much into it, the idea of painting the tape is that there's no actual intent to follow through with that. I am simply telling you that that is my plan, but I'm not going through with it because I actually already have what I want, and I need that price to go up. And I need the only way that's going to work is if there's suddenly a bunch of scarcity and overwhelming demand, and the only way that I feel I can get it is by convincing you that I'm about to make it a lot more scarce, and maybe so are other people. That's the point. At that heightened value. Now, the downside to something like this, because you might be thinking, it's like, ooh, well, what's the harm in that if the value of things suddenly go up? Is that it never really stays up. That's usually what the issue is. Painting the tape is literally you basically you're painting the ticker tape into some pretty glossy, cool, yum, this is a great idea, when in fact all you're trying to do is take the crap that you're stuck with and sell it at a much higher value, so you don't have to deal with it anymore. And it's a sneaky short-term trick in order to get people to kind of buy into that mentality. And I've seen a couple of games, I've seen a couple of creators literally say, I'm going to buy 25% of this print run. I'm going to buy every single thing that I can. I'm putting in $500,000, $600,000 into this. That creates both a sense of possible scarcity, depending on what the game is, but also that idea that, wow, if he's willing to put that much into it, if he is saying he's willing to put that much into it, this must be absolutely worth getting. Which chances are, what's really happened is they've already got those assets, they've already got that product, they're already sitting on it. Or those are transactions that are already completed, and they actually need to move them out the door at a heightened value. That's how the scam really works. In a big game like a Lorcana, you're probably not really going to see too much of that. Just you're not going to see like, I'm buying 25% of stuff like this. However, you might see that in terms of cards. And when we get to spoofing and ramping next, you'll see it a little bit more. But like, if I'm coming and saying I'm going to do a run on, I'm going to buy every single one of XYZ card, and there's not really a reason behind it. Like, these are these stupid EV videos of like, oh, you don't know, I'm going to buy every single one that comes out. It's really because they probably got a bunch and they just want to drive the price up, or they're really trolling you. They just are. But that's essentially painting the tape. I want to convince you that there's going to be a run of buying on this, and chances are I'm the one who's going to tell you that I'm going to spark it, but really it's because I got a bunch of this crap already. I need to send it out. So, quick, how do you protect yourself from it? What are you looking out for? First off, look at the character of the person. And I'm not saying you look like a scam or anything like that, but think about, like, if you follow somebody a lot, figure out what their normal MO is. Like, if this is somebody who is looking a lot more at the long-term trades and they're saying this, then and that you can very much validate and verify, like, you're really in it for the long haul, then yeah, okay, chances are they really are buying a bunch of this as a proper investment. You can usually rule that. But if this is a creator, an influencer, or somebody who is usually doing the short sale kind of stuff, like, they're usually talking about flipping and those like quick investments and look how much money I made kind of like next day type of stuff, and they're talking to you about something like this, that's a big red flag that something is amiss, that they might have made a mistake somewhere and they're trying to recoup expenses, but they're going to convince the masses that, oh man, I am absolutely buying this thing, so that way, you know, that scarcity will go, and then like within a week or so you'll see that the price of those boxes maybe getting to a point where he's trying to, you know, where I would want to, like, he would want to sell them. It's like, okay, these I bought these things at like 100, I don't want to sell them for 100, they're at 75 right now, I need to get them to 150. Let's see if I can get them to 150 by presenting the idea of scarcity. And then there are other tactics that can be done to help with that. But huzzah, I've created scarcity, people really want these boxes. Boom, 150, you know, they're 150 bucks now. And then you offload, you sell like absolute freaking crazy. And unfortunately, the downside, and this is where the scam comes full circle, is you suddenly start seeing fire sales at new prices of somebody just dumping a ton of boxes all of a sudden. And then you see no traction after that. Not an ounce of movement. Congrats, guys. You were all part of a scam. It's called painting the tape. And it sucks. A little harder to spot, but kind of look at character the individual. And honestly, at the end of the day, if you really see any video that's coming out and saying like, I'm buying this much, X much, all of these things, and the reason behind it is some weird like, you don't know, or something that really just doesn't track outside of a semi maybe educated guess, I might just consider not listening to it. Maybe just don't. And honestly, if your MO is, hey, I'm going to make money off of the flip, well, you're kind of the assholes that I'm trying to protect people from. So there you go.
What up, it's Deckmaster J. No, I don't always jump in the chair. I don't have to do that every time. I don't do that every time. I do what I want. I do what I feel. What I feel, though, is that this card, this baby right here, this card is going like fire. It is selling like crazy. So I'm coming at you today with an EBV estimated value video. Been checking the market, checking the movement, checking TCG players, seeing what's going up, what's going down, what you should be getting your hands on. And I got a hot tip for you. This thing, somebody's specking on it. This thing is getting bought out. Buyouts are happening. I don't know if somebody's got some insider info or what. Something's coming down where this thing is going to be fire. It's going to be fire. It's going to be in hot demand. Price is going to skyrocket on this thing, but right now you got to get it while it's low. Get it while it's low, which right now there's not a lot that's low out there. There's not a lot that's left. It is going. It's going. You got to check it out. Go get your hands on this thing because it is skyrocketing, or it's going to skyrocket pretty soon. That's where we're at. Anyway, that's my hot tip for you. Check back next time. Boom. Deckmaster J out. Cool. All right. Glad I got 50 of them first. Whew. All right. That'll make it for this box crap. So on August 15th, 2023, 3 cards got sold. One of them we saw earlier, which was a Hey promo for 451 euros, about 485 bucks. An Yzma sold for the same exact amount, and then a Mickey Mouse sold for about 535 euros. Nothing about this made sense, and I showed you off a little bit about shill bidding, but now I actually want to talk about 2 things. One, spoofing, which is basically pretending like an actual sale is occurring when no money's actually going to change hands, and that's just not a thing. That's not a thing that's going to happen. I'm basically faking a sale. So that way I can make it look like that's what the ground floor is. And the second thing is ramping, which is what my my little example with Deckmaster J was, where I'm creating very valid sales because I'm buying something out myself, and then I'm going to go around and be like, oh man, somebody's buying the crap out of this thing. Or I can even say it's like multiple people are buying the crap out of this thing. It's just me the whole time who's buying it. So that way the price goes up and I can sell it at heightened price, and price comes down. Or I sell it off and then price comes down. Now there are a couple reasons you do something like that. Maybe you do want to get more traction in it. Like from the flip side of that, you can also have like small publishers saying, have people go out and they're saying, I'm buying a ton of this, or I bought a ton of this. So that way you get a lot more eyes on it and more people buy your game who are actually potential customers, as opposed to your little group of friends over here who are kind of in on the scam. But that's essentially what the 2 is. Ramping is I'm buying the living, somebody buys a living crap out of something, and then they go and they tell you that that, oh man, the market is going crazy. And then spoofing is showing actual sales, or showing that sales are happening, but with no actual intent for those sales to be completed. So let me switch the camera real quick, and I'm going to show you through the Hey Hey promos and the Lorcana promos what exactly spoofing looks like, and then I'm going to show you in TCG Player a little bit about ramping and how to protect yourself from both of these things. So here we go. Looking at the Hey Hey promo from what we saw earlier, this thing goes out for $485. It was the $485 US. It was the only one that was on at the time because it was going for 3 days prior. Now, why in the world would somebody put out something at a price with no intent for the sale to actually happen? And it's to help create a floor, especially if you're the first one there. I go in, I get a Hey Hey promo, I'm like, man, I want to sell this thing. I'm not sure how much it's going to sell for. What did the last thing sell for? Sales for $485. Now, I might not think it's $485, but I'm like, oh, if that's the floor, I can put this thing out for $300, $400, whatever it is, when that's nowhere close to what this is. And then you kind of you create value that way. Now we'll spoil this. This is nowhere close to it. I'll pop in and oops, not this. We can see the Hey Hey stuff for sale by looking at the sold. Like it's 100 for the entire set, so maybe that's $30. I can see a Hey Hey going for 36. Like that's about where we're at. 53 is a little odd, but like this is where we're at. We're definitely not in $485 territory. We hit nowhere close. But, you know, if I'm trying to make it look like it's something that pricey, maybe someone's going to buy it for that. So that's where you get into the issues. Now, the way that I can kind of spot this a little bit is I look at those back and forths again. Similar to the painting the tape, or not the painting the tape, similar to the shill bidding issue, I can look to see if I get like minds when it comes to who's bidding, as well as I have like kind of a low burner account looking thing. And again, we go right into our bid history. So bid history. I can see this thing started at $5, and it's an innocent enough auction until suddenly it's not. Suddenly we get into $143, and the price jumps to $205, and then it jumps to $305, and then it jumps to an odd $451. We go to like $5 up, and then we go like 1 up. But it's this back and forth between these 516, 21, 516, 21, 516, 21. Like these same two people are like going back and forth. Now, this 471 kind of trickles in at 138, but look at the difference between when we saw different people showing up and when the thing just straight up died. Now let's go take a look at some of the others that the same seller put on at the same time. Yzma, same exact price, jumping into the same bids. I'll do the same for their same exact Mickey. 516, 21, 516, 21. It's the same two bidders going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. They're landing on the same exact pricing. And they're giving you it's the same. I don't know if they're like, I don't entirely know if they're in cahoots, but something about this whole thing is weird, especially when you have this little like 21 burner account doing like weird shit, like just doing weird stuff. And especially to land where he did off the spikes that he had like an entire hour and a half before, an hour before the entire thing ends. This is a weird looking batch of sales here. And that's something I would look at. Now, naturally, in the realm of spoofing, I would also be looking at the rest of the sale. So look, down in here, look at the sold items. Search for the same thing, look at sold, and see what everybody else is selling for. This was the one time this thing went out. There was only one of these at the time this auction was out there. That is not the floor. Let's see what everybody else did. You get a better idea of what stuff is actually selling at. And this is a heck of a lot better. Don't spend $300 on something that's going to go for $30. Same also if you have somebody who's like putting something out way in advance. There's going to be those price spikes at the very, very beginning as people don't know what allocation is. For sure, that's fine. But like, let a little bit more data come in. Look, use your head. Use your head, everybody. And you can also check good old TCG Player to see what kind of stuff is going for sale and what what those are being sold at. But like, be a little careful. Look at the sold items to get a better understanding. Look at those bid histories. Look at those weird back and forths. You can do the same thing and figure out like, all right, who are you? Are you retracting bids from this? Is that something that you're doing? Are you bidding on the same type of things? Are you bidding on the same person over and over and over and over and over and over? These are signs and these are concerns that maybe these are accounts that are linked and trying to do something shady. And that's spoofing. And then sometimes you'll also see it like in smaller games. You'll see it like I saw it with Dreambook, where Dreambook had a $14,000 card. Nobody bid on the thing, but it was on auction for $14,000 as if to suggest that value could very well exist. Now, that wasn't actually a thing that happened, but like it was spoofed. And if you're wondering, it's like, well, the auction finished. No, because I can simply just cancel this auction afterwards. no problem. The thing started at $5 also, so like also not really much of an issue. There's a reason it starts down here as opposed to starts like $100-200. So I can just cancel this auction and repost it. And as somebody who clicked on these, I actually got a repost notice for this exact item from the exact seller, so I can tell. I was able to tell what he ended up doing, and I can look at like what were your last sales? What were your last sales? Here's seller's other items. Like you can see these things like went down once they got a little bit more in reality land. Oops, I have to go to the sold items. Sold items. They went into more reality lands, and yeah, I don't really like the 19 and the 80. That stuff is still high, but it's like it's day one, so I hate those spikes exist, but they do. But we're nowhere close to the 450 bullshit. That's not a thing. The last thing I want to talk about is ramping on this one real quick, and this one's going to be super fast. It's the same idea. This one's a little bit harder, but it's one of those really look into those spec videos, and just like the painting, the tape ones, where it's like look at the character of the individual, where they're very much that short sale person, and they're saying like, oh, somebody's speccing on this. Chances are, if that's the case, and they're going pretty hard on it, they're probably looking for that short flip, and they're maybe getting you involved in the short flip. But it's very comfortable to say if that's kind of what they normally do, you're not really seeing them do a lot. This is not a long-term investment. I would also really question what info they're kind of leveraging in order to do this. Like, is it just, hey, I just want to pump the price of this thing. You can usually tell from what their normal and other videos are as far as like what their MO is on whether or not they're just trying to like ramp. Again, there's no proof that they bought like 50 of these things or anything like that, but kind of just take a look at their character. Are they looking for the short sale stuff and surprised that like, oh, I instantly turned this as an instant profit? I'd be really careful. I'd be really careful there. However, thankfully you can see, and I don't really have any good examples on when this is done kind of wrong, but sometimes you can see in ramping that somebody will post a price or a market value in TCG Player that is way the hell high, as if to suggest that that is the cost of the card. We'll do this with Elsa because it's $4.89. Now, the problem here is that, with my example, is that the actual sales history, like I can go over here on the right and view sales history for TCG Player. This is your Bible, by the way, on what things actually sell for. But I've seen in some cases, and this happened with Flesh and Blood not too long ago, where somebody simply just showed this price, this $4.75, I don't know where it went, this $4.75, that has disappeared all of a sudden. Oh, fine. There she is. This $4.75, they just showed that. They took that as a screenshot and just showed that and put it up and said, oh my gosh, this thing ramped like crazy. And then you go into the actual item itself and you look at the sold history, you look at the sales history, and all that actually happened is somebody just bought out everything that was like $200. And all that was left was like that one guy, one or two people who were like really hoping to get $475 off of it. Fun fact about TCG Player, this is not the price of the card. This thing, when you click on it and go into TCG Player, this is not the price of the card. This is the price of the one that is available, the lowest one that is available. But that does not mean that anything has sold at this price. It just simply means that that's what's left. Now, it's very possible, looking at sales history and everything else, that this is in fact what people are buying. In fact, looking at this sales history, $4.75 is fairly low, all things considered, but it's been a day. But I can at least look and say, as like, this $4.75 is not out of line. If I came into the sales history and this was all like 200 and 100, and somebody's telling me, oh man, this thing spiked, you got to get in on it. No. That's probably not true in the slightest. This thing's a $100, $200 card. That's what it is. So there you go. That's kind of how to look at the two. Those are your two big keys, especially in eBay and TCG Player. Look at sold history and be really careful when something just seems super off the wall bonkers, and especially when creators are telling you, oh, this thing's getting spec'd on, something's going on, you got to get in, it's going crazy, it's going to sell like hotcakes. If they've got a history of just loving those little short flip sales, chances are you're the sucker in this one.
What up? It's Deckmaster J. How's it going? Yes, is how I answer the phone. No, it's not dumb. Look, anyway, you still got those boxes of Metabrew? Yeah, I know, right? Everybody does. Like, what a dumpster fire. But hey, look, we're gonna do something. A couple buddies of mine, we're gonna do a thing, okay? Do us a favor and go ahead, like, if you could post a couple boxes up for like 70, 80 bucks. No, I know they're not selling for 70, 80 bucks, but like, post a couple boxes up for 70, 80 bucks. We're gonna say we're gonna buy those, and then I'll get with you in like a week. Like, we're not actually, don't worry, like, we're not actually gonna sell them, so like, don't worry about that. Like, we're doing a thing. It's gonna work out. It's gonna work out, okay? No, they're just cards, dude. Okay.
What up, what up? It's Deckmaster J. How's it going? Nice. Yeah, no, thank you for last week. I appreciate that. No, don't worry. Like I said, we're doing a thing. We're doing a thing. I know you're in trouble. I'm in trouble too. I know we gotta get this stuff out of the house. Hey, look, I never claimed to be a financial advisor. I was not giving you financial advice. This is more of a you problem, all right? But I'm trying to make good. I'm trying to make good, okay? So take a couple boxes. Do this again. Make a couple posts, but this time put boxes up for like 90, 100 bucks. Yeah, no, like we're gonna say we're gonna buy those, and then like we're gonna be golden. We're gonna be golden. Like don't worry. Like people are starting to notice that sales are happening, right? They're starting to notice it. But don't worry. Like now we're bumping it up a little bit. 90, 100 bucks, okay? Don't worry. I got you. All right. Cool. No, they're just cards. They're just cards. What up, Deckmaster J? I told you. See that video? See that video I put out there? That market update? Metabrew is back, baby. You see those sales? You see that market? See those boxes going up? What? Oh, look at it go. Let's go. Market update, market's moving, sales are happening, people are starting to get a feel for starting to move a little bit on that stuff, right? Yeah. Sold a couple boxes for like $100. Seems to be pretty good. So yeah, you should be pretty good to go. Just wanted to thank you for sticking with me. Let me do my work. Let me do my job. Right? I know I'm not a financial advisor or anything. Whatever, we all win. You just gotta stick with Deckmaster J. Stick with Deckmaster J, you'll be fine. Thanks for being a part. Go have fun out there. Right? Alright, man, I appreciate you. No, it's not illegal, man. They're just cards. I don't know why you keep asking me this. Just enjoy. Enjoy the ride. Editing Joe before we jump in too far. Now that I'm editing it, I'm fully aware that like I've got spit up all over my sleeve and I'm not gonna redo this section. So, you know, that's just what being a content creator with a 3-month-old is like. So, I figured I would just torture you a little bit. Have fun. What's really funny is that at the beginning of my journey with Flesh and Blood, at the beginning of 2021, one of the biggest criticisms and one of the biggest like, oh, burn kind of moments was it's a complete scam and it's just a bunch of rich people passing money back and forth between to each other. Well, that's called wash trading, my friends. That's what that is. Now, in proper stocks, in proper like actual stock market stuff, wash trading is done a little bit differently in that it is like, these are transactions that are very much like recorded. And it's to create the illusion of pumping up value and pumping up, actual like traffic and interest and things like that. And it's very, very similar. It's very, very similar to spoofing. It's very similar to rampant. It's very similar to kind of some of those other types of things. But usually this is done kind of on a bigger scale. It's not just like one guy, one or two people trying to like make this look super fake. And they're actually trying to create the perception of real transactions. Now, again, looking at Lorcana and stuff like that, you're probably not going to see too much in the realm of Lorcana. But the way that I have seen this in other games, and this is something that's sparked in Discord communities, is you would have an asset, you would have a product that is kind of falling, tanking, losing a lot of interest, and you have somebody that wants to come in and talk about how crazy the market is for this thing, but you don't actually have anything that shows this, similar to like a ramp. But what you would do is instead of having like one or two people who were kind of like part of it, you would have like, there would be like a number of them that would literally just a slow spiral up of transactions or the perception of transactions. That way, like I'm selling something for 100. It's like 110, 20, 30. You slowly try to crank it up so it doesn't look like some weird spike, more than like a slow trickle to make that floor look much more legit than kind of a next day fad. Like I said, one of the normal protections for the others is like, find if you're looking at somebody who's just like a flipper for this thing. And then if you see like a big spike in price, all of a sudden like, hey, this is going for like $100 more. And somebody's trying to suggest that, then like, okay, there might be a little bit of an issue. But with wash trading, because in TCG land, because it's happening over such a long string of transactions, it looks like it's just a natural progression of price increase. So it's a little bit trickier. It's a little bit trickier to spot, and it's a little bit harder to put together. Again, not something you'll probably see in Lorcana, not something you see too much in bigger games, sort of, kind of. But I do remember in some of the lower Kickstarters, you would have a little bit of that we're all basically just going to kind of slowly sell this thing up, so that way when we get ready for a big marketing push or get ready for like the Kickstarter to show up, like right before a Kickstarter shows up, you would see a weird splurge of promos start to go out there and get sold. And it was really weird. And then the Kickstarter would go and people would be like, oh my gosh, look at all this crazy, amazing, this stuff. And it's selling like hotcakes when it's really like 8 or 9 people, but you're not tracking these names. So it was a little bit of it was kind of screwy. It was a bit screwy. It's called wash trading. You are essentially trading at a wash, but also like rich people passing money back and forth between each other. Again, TCG land plays a little bit different than stocks, but same concept. A slow progression to make it look like that's like the new natural floor. So, what does this really look like? And this is one of those that takes maybe a little bit of history. One of the best protections is to take a little bit of history. Like the more you know about kind of the history of a game and when maybe somebody did screw up, and they did say, like, oh man, we are in fact buying a ton of this stuff. This stuff's going to go to the moon. Stuff's going to go crazy. And then it just doesn't, just sinks and dies. And then kind of out of nowhere, for no real reason, it just kind of suddenly just you start to see a lot of sales from it again. You see a lot of sales from a lot of different people. And this thing that doesn't really seem to have any business being there. It's like somebody specking on it all of a sudden. And it doesn't make any sense. Be a little bit careful there, because might be one of those instances where you've got a lot of people who are like working together, to try to push the price of something up. So also one of those things you're looking at is you're looking for people to maybe also consider selling at a loss. So hey, I am selling like this case of stuff at something that's a less value because it's been a while since these have sold, and then people are kind of people buy it up a little bit. And then it's just kind of got to go from there. Like if I'm holding my Metabrew TCG and like I'm terrified that if I put it out there, because we haven't seen it sell in a while, if I put it out there like at $100 and it doesn't sell, like we're in trouble. But if I put it at 80, like if I put it something that's maybe a little bit more enticing and I just start that a little bit, or at least I can fake it looking like I'm starting at a low volume and it's working its way up. I'm not surprising the market. I'm not looking at a market that's saying, why is this thing that never sold for $100 suddenly selling for $100? That doesn't seem to be a thing that's happening. Well, cool. Be on the lookout for selling stuff at a loss, and then kind of like a recursion of it. And then also a little bit of being a little bit, if you know the game, look at those types of products that are being sold. Like, is there a point in time where maybe there was a run on this and people probably got a little bit screwed? You'll probably see this in a lot bigger, like sealed product stuff that's going to push a heck of a lot more than like 1 or 2 singles. I doubt you're going to see a lot of that, and that's a lot of coordination, and that's a lot of weirdness for not really a lot of money. This is usually like much bigger things, but yeah, I would say in that realm, like be really careful if suddenly just high dollar, high volume things just start showing up and selling kind of like hotcakes, and you don't really know where those sales sort of came from. And then be on the lookout for the names, and be on the lookout if it slowly increases over time. And if you see like a 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month of like steady, suddenly out of nowhere sales of this thing, and it's just kind of slowly picking itself up each time. Again, not saying it's a scam, not saying that's a thing. There could be very much a legit reason, but it's at least kind of that initial flag. It's that first, like, maybe I need to look at who's selling, how quick are these things being sold, like how quick does somebody jump in and say, I'm buying this? Look at a couple of those things, because yeah, it's another way to kind of manipulate the market a little bit. It's another way to screw around. This one's one you will not see nearly as much. Definitely in some of the bigger games, you probably won't see it like in Flesh and Blood. You probably won't see it in Lorcana. You won't see it in like the massive things, but definitely those smaller ones, some of those smaller games. Yeah, you might see a little bit of an inner circle. You might see kind of a little specific group of individuals kind of bouncing around the same type of product all of a sudden, and that is them basically trying to slowly crawl, slowly help that market, slowly help that floor crawl up, even though nobody outside of them is actually interested in this thing. Because that's usually kind of how all of this stuff works, is that nobody outside of this small group is actually interested in what's being offered and when. So that's wash trading, and that's where we're going to end this. I know. I joked. I laughed. 3 minutes per. It never works out that way. By the way, that's literally why I added a Pomodoro timer to try to do that. But this is another one of those where I felt like it was such important information and good to talk about. It's not something I've really seen talk about in this context. That it would be good. It'd be good to talk about examples. If you have some of your own examples, you'll notice I was very specific to not call out specific games or creators or individuals or anything. I did not want to do that. I don't want to turn this conversation into one-off accusatory things, and the rest of what I was sharing gets completely lost. I would also maybe kind of ask if you try not to do that in the comments. I really don't want it to be like, let's just put individuals on blast. I don't necessarily know if anybody is conducting exactly in the stuff that I'm saying. This was just to educate people in what the flags are, things to look out for, and things to protect yourself regardless. I do know that some people are doing this kind of crap, but this is not the video that I want to be like, oh, let's call out XYZ individuals, and then that's suddenly the whole conversation on whether or not that's true or not. This is 50 minutes of info. There's a lot more here than that. So if you do have your own thoughts or things to look out for, flags or tricks or just other ways to help the community kind of protect itself, especially this new community that has come in, please share that. Share that in the comments of if there are tools or things you know. I definitely didn't cover all of the different types of the techniques that could be used. And even you notice in these 5, a lot of them are kind of just weird variations of really the same thing. Which is just essentially kind of spoofing and faking value and faking traction where there isn't one, where there might not be, or trying to move that needle a little bit faster based on faulty information. So yeah, some of these look a little bit the same, but they can be seen and kind of covered in different ways. So that's what I have for you. Thank you guys so much for all of the time, as it's just something we did again. Be that you watch this in pieces or if you watch the entirety of the thing, I thank you so much. And again, subscribe. If you liked this video, definitely please subscribe as well. I don't do these often, but like I said, hopefully with this one you found value, because the little time that I do try to make them valuable. So here we go. Let's finish this bad boy. Awesome. I'll bet you guys do. Cheers, everybody.